Good afternoon, Maryland Realtors. My name is Jackie Muick. I'm the Consumer Advocacy and Website Manager at Maryland Realtors. Today, we're going to look at MarylandHomeownership.com and the resources Maryland Realtors works to give consumers and the opportunities for real estate professionals to use these resources to help educate their clients and demonstrate your value as a professional. We'll also take a look at how to co-brand some of the incredible materials we have available for you with MarylandHomeownership.com. That will be later in the webinar. If you have any questions as we explore MarylandHomeownership.com together, please put them in the Q&A box below and I'll get to them as I'm able. This webinar will be recorded and put up on our YouTube channel. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, so you'll see when you come to MarylandHomeownership.com, wonderful thing about the website, our name is the URL, so it's easy to remember. You will, if you stay on this homepage for a second, it will come up with this pop-up for a newsletter. We send that out quarterly. It is a wonderful newsletter, although I am aware I am biased. These newsletters highlight all the new things that have come out on MarylandHomeownership.com, so they really help to re-engage consumers and bring them back to the website and learn what else has been added since they were last there. So questions that they may have had, maybe we put out an article about it to help answer their questions, or maybe there was a new law that they may want to look up. We make sure that we keep them in the loop without bombarding them with too many emails. So once every 3 months, they get a wonderful, beautiful email crafted by myself and my colleague Kelly Crum. With all of that information. And if you would like to join and stay up to date, feel free to add your name and your address. Consumers have a chance to win an Amazon gift card to try to incentivize them to sign up. And that's all well and good. But once you exit out of that, you're on our wonderful homepage, where, as with any other website, the homepage has some highlights with some of our videos, our mission, our upcoming events, and putting them to Open Doors, our consumer advocacy website. You can also get information about finding a local agent, more on that later. Website highlights also our social media presence, newsletter again. That is the home page. I'm sorry, I'm working with multiple screens. I'm trying to make sure that if there's anything in the Q&A box or in the chat, that I make sure I am looking for it. Anyway, so that is the home page. And you'll see up here, we have quite a few things in this menu. We have some green buttons and we have this menu bar. We're going to start with the buttons for the purposes of the webinar today. So why use a realtor? Let's find out. This is one of the questions that I'm sure you all deal with fairly regularly. You have to prove your value, your worth, why it's worth the commission you're going to make in this transaction, and show the expertise that you have and why it's important in such an important transaction to have someone to advocate for you, to advise you throughout all of it, and to be your rock as you're dealing with, an offer may have been rejected, trying to figure out finances, all of that is so stressful, and you're there for them throughout it. But if they're new, or if they haven't bought or sold in a while, they may not know the value of a realtor or what you bring to the table today in this current market. So part of this website, and this page specifically, is to help demonstrate the value you all bring as experts and professionals in that field. So why use a realtor? What is a realtor? And then some other like highlights as well. The differences, we know it's a common thing. What's the difference between a realtor, an agent, and a broker? So we break it down for them here. How do you find one? We explain different things like designations, expertise, and this wonderful widget here, which we will come back to, get connected with a trusted local realtor. I'll scroll back up, don't worry, I won't forget. We also break down specifically the different national designations and certifications. It's very long, so we make sure it's collapsible to try to keep it as simple to scan through and get the information they need. And we give them questions to ask when choosing a realtor so that they feel like when they meet with you for the first time, they have some kind of understanding of what to start the conversation with, where they could take the conversation to understand your expertise in a way that is relevant to them and this field that they are entirely new to potentially. Were they first-time homebuyers? Were your clients that you work with, do they look like me? How do you get paid? When does the relationship between us, your fiduciary duties, begin and when do they end? These are questions that, as a member, if you want to read these and make sure that you understand what kind of questions in an interview they may be coming to is a great resource for you to prepare as well. But it's also wonderful for people who may not have family and friends who've already bought a home who can walk them through the process or are just feeling like they really don't even know where to start. We're trying to give them those starting points. So back up to that widget, you will see three things. You can choose county served, you can choose language, and you can search by agent name. So say someone already has someone in mind and they're just like, oh, I think I saw that person. I want to get in contact with them. They can type in by name, but you can also just hit submit and see all counties, all languages. And we will talk more about this, I promise. We're going to go through the rest of the website and then we'll talk about the wonderful Housing Opportunity Certification, or HOC. And if my computer would like to load, that would be lovely. While it loads, because I have spent so much time on this page, when we get to this next page, we will see a list of realtors. It will also explain what the HOC certification is. The list of realtors we put on this website, there we go, are the list of realtors who have their HOC certification. And again, we will come back to that once we're through all of this website. So if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat, but I may get to them. We have links to realtor.com, links back to those 10 questions to help set them up for success, to find the realtor that's going to work best for them. And they can come down here and they can click on any realtor, they can find their contact information. And that information also, we're going to be revamping it shortly. So that members also, ideally, we're going to get you so you can put a URL in there so that you can link directly to your website, and all of that wonderful stuff. So again, promise I'm not done talking about that. We will come back to it, but we're going to come back to it after we're going through all the stuff on the website. The next button at the top is Maryland Home Loans. This is one of our most popular web pages based on how much traffic we get. Because when you're looking for a home, the first question is, how in the heck am I going to afford it? Right? What help is there? What can I do or use or plan for? Are some of the first questions that many Marylanders have when they're looking at buying or selling or renting a home. But for Maryland Home Loans, we have information from the Maryland Mortgage Program, who are near and dear to our hearts. We love them. U.S. Housing Urban Development, Freddie Mac, USDA, U.S. Veterans Affairs, and by county. And this is information that we have sourced. We are doing our best to try to connect consumers to these local programs, these state programs, federal programs, whatever is possible. We've also had some localities actually contact us and ask to be added to this webpage because they want to make sure that they're getting connected to the consumers and we're able to help bridge that gap. So it is a wonderful resource because say you have a client and they don't know, they're maybe they're working in Howard County and they're thinking about moving to Howard County, but they live in Montgomery and they might want to stay in Montgomery, but still buy a house. They can compare, okay, what programs might I qualify for in Montgomery County? What programs might I qualify for in Howard County? And compare everything county by county to help narrow down that search or decide, maybe they're both options and they just have areas within them. So this is a great tool to kind of help show them where they can kind of go at their own pace. They don't feel overwhelmed, and they can explore on their own to be able to get that conversation started and get an understanding of where they may want to be looking if they really have a broad understanding of where they might want to be. The contact us page, we'll go to it. It's nothing special. You know what a contact us page looks like. It has some information for you to put in, and then it will be sent to us at Maryland Realtors, and we will offer as much insight as possible. If anyone asks for a realtor to work with, we always direct them back to that list and have them choose from that list. Or we also direct them to ask family and friends for recommendations. Um, there are so many places that they can look, and we try to offer as many of them as possible. We will never recommend a specific realtor to anyone who asks us for one, because that wouldn't be fair to any of the other members. So we try to make sure that everything we're doing is as fair as possible. But most of the time, we're just getting questions about something that's on the website, and we redirect them to the correct page that they need. So let's start off with the buyers. I forgot a very key thing. I got ahead of myself. This entire website is available in English or in Spanish. If you come to the top right-hand side, you will see the American flag and the Spanish flag. My God, my brain stopped working for a moment, and the entire page will be translated into Spanish for them throughout the entire thing. This does not apply to all of our PDFs. We are in the process of all of our PDFs and files that you can download or print. We are working on getting all of those translated, but right now we have wonderful toolkits that we'll talk about in a second. The first part of this page is just running through the different sections that we have in the buyers area, to highlight them in case they come to just the buyers tab and they want something more specific. So these toolkits, love these toolkits. They are everything a buyer for the toolkit for the buyers, everything they may need to kind of have an understanding in general of that process. So you can see from this table of contents, it's pretty extensive. It's 20 pages of, is buying right for you? How do you buy a home? 10 steps to do that. Financial readiness, home buyer education, using a realtor. All of this information, you can hand this to your client or send them the link to it, is incredible. Imagine sitting down, you're a first-time home buyer, and you're like, okay, I'm meeting with a realtor. I don't really know where to start. Like, I know like something called escrow happens at some point. Like, I know there's that I have to like put down money at some point, but all I really know is what I've seen on TV shows about going and looking at houses. So I don't know what happens before. I don't know what happens after. And getting this where you can keep it alongside you as a guide, get an understanding of where you're going in general. You get information about credit scores, where you can get home buyer education, the 8 reasons to use a realtor right there, questions to ask you while using a realtor again, explaining more about agency because that's been a hot topic. Housing opportunity is super important. We have checklists in here as well. So there's a mortgage application checklist, there's a moving checklist later on. We made sure this was extensive. And so the fact that we're able to offer it in English and in Spanish, fully translated and not AI translation in the toolkits, this is like we worked with a company who was able to translate it to make sure that this was as true and accurate as possible. Wonderful. Soon, all of these wonderful one pages, all 3 of them, and we are planning on having more in the future, will also be fully translated in the same way, but that will be coming in the next few months. We have a guide to the first-time homebuyer savings account. For those of you who are not familiar with this, the first-time homebuyer savings account is a tax deduction that you can take at the state level, so you can try to help. It encourages consumers to try to start saving for a home by making them not get taxed on the money that they're saving. It is any savings account at any bank. It is not, you don't need to go to a specific bank. You don't need to get a specific kind of savings account for it. It is a designation on a tax form that you fill out. As I tell consumers when they ask about this, I am not a tax professional. My expertise on this does end where the page ends, but it is something that a lot of people don't know about until they have already meeting with you, the realtor. I didn't know about it until I started this job. And so one of the things that we're trying to do is also help get the word out about that, because it can really make a difference for a lot of people who are looking at saving and buying a home somewhere in the next 5 to 10 years and just need as much help as they can get. We also have a wholesaling one pager, and that did not link correctly, so I will be fixing that after this webinar. But that wholesaling flyer will be information about the disclosure that went into effect as of October 1st, that wholesalers will need to give buyers and to sellers, that they may assign their contract. It is good things because it makes sure that the consumer knows exactly what to expect, and it refers them to a real estate professional or lawyer to make sure that they fully understand their rights and what it means when they're approached by a wholesaler. Because nothing is worse than going into a transaction without knowing fully what you're getting into, and that you may be leaving money on the table or being overcharged because you're dealing with a wholesaler. The third one cheater that we have here, and it is also linked incorrectly, so I'm going to see why that's happening. There we go. We also have home insurance basics. So what is it? Why do you need it? Um, how does an insurance score work? All of these basics that if you have not owned a home or if you haven't looked into home insurance in a while, you might not know about. And this one's actually, I lied, it's not a one pager, it's a two pager. Um, because we also have information about something called a clue report, and we have information about where to go if you think that there are some violations happening with your home insurance. And we have this checklist for buyers to be able to think about in their search for home insurance because you wait till the last minute and all of a sudden you're scrambling. So we recommend give recommendations like starting early as soon as your contract has been accepted, and being able to search and look for different things. And we do have articles on this webpage. And these are some of our buyer specific articles that we have highlighted for them here, but we have much more and we'll talk about the articles more in a moment. First time home buyer's guide, really just trying to spell out for them as best as possible what they need to get there, to get into their first home, get those keys, giving them some information. And the reason why some of this is so helpful, I'm going to try to avoid repeating myself. So if I scroll past something, it's because we already talked about it, but please feel free to put it in the Q&A. Part of the reason this is so helpful for you all as real estate agents is because you can give this wealth of information to your clients, and it is an unbiased third-party resource that the goal of this is to make sure that these consumers don't feel like they're trying to be sold anything here. So they can feel like they can trust the information. They're not trying to put in credit card information anywhere. And so it backs up your value, but it also gives them something that they're like, okay, this person that I'm working with is also referring me to wonderful resources. So they're clearly knowledgeable, they're up to date, and they're looking out for me and what I need to understand and how I can help get this started and be prepared and feel a little bit more on top of it. Thank you so much. I see one question coming in about some of the Montgomery County links are not working. Thank you so much. I will be sure to look into that. I am going to take a look at that page immediately after this because that's really important. So thank you so much. If you are all ever on this page or working with a client or you're just exploring on your own, please send me an email. Use the contact us, do whatever. My email for the record is Jackie, spelled Jacky, .Mueck, Mueck, at mdrealtor.org. Let us know if you find something broken because we want to get it fixed as fast as possible. We do our best for that maintenance, but there's a lot of links, and sometimes some of the programs change their URL or whatever else for some reason, or go away and come back up. So please, if you see something, let us know because we want to be able to fix it as soon as possible. The first time homebuyer savings account page is just that information again, for SEO purposes, trying to have more text on this page, but it is the same information as the one cheater. All right, the working with a realtor page. This is also going to be one of your favorite pages because it again emphasizes the value you all bring and why it is good and needed, for many Marylanders and for many people who are looking to go into a real estate transaction and everything that having a realtor at your side brings. So again, we have the breakdown of a realtor, an agent, and a broker, information about that, getting them back to this page, those questions. You'll notice that some of these pages have information that you've already seen somewhere else, and that is intentional because we don't know where the consumers are going to be finding this information, and we don't know if they're reading it, if they see it twice. So getting it in front of them multiple times if they're on both pages, or say that they don't look at these green buttons at all, they come straight to buyer and they're going through this. We make sure that we're still making that case for why realtors bring value and help you stay protected, stay in the know, and make it so that your transaction can go as smoothly as possible. Financial wellness is also something that's really popular, because it is the part that everyone is struggling with at this point. And everyone has to consider like that financial aspect. What can they afford? When are they ready? When are they ready to give up renting, moving to buying a house? So again, we highlight these things specifically on the homeowner education. So Freddie Mac, Maryland Council on Economic Education, and the Maryland Mortgage Program approved classes to make sure that we are connecting them to these resources. We don't need to reinvent the wheel with this website, right? Freddie Mac, MMP, they are doing wonderful work over there, and we can make sure that we're connecting consumers to these resources they may not know about without having to spend our energy on things that already exist. And fair housing when it loads. Um, Fair housing. You all know it. You take continuing education on this every 2 years. We have federal, state, and local, but how many people at a consumer level are familiar with all of this? What's protected at what level? Not many. Or at least they're not aware of all of the things that are protected and how it differs from federal, state, and local. So this gives them that breakdown for the state of Maryland and as well some of these locals as well. We link to our Fair Housing Act. You are welcome to get it from here. You all also have access to it on our Maryland Realtors website, and it's also been available in English and Spanish. We have information about where to report any fair housing violations and additional sources for information. We also, because we know love letters are a big thing when you're looking at buying a home, because as a buyer, you want to make sure you do everything in your power to get the home of your dreams. And if that means writing a letter, I'll write a letter. But making the point about why it's not always the best idea and why you probably shouldn't be doing that, is calling it out here so that you as a realtor, if you have a client who's really like, no, no, like I was told I need to be doing a letter. I really love this house. I need to tell them how much I love this house. You also have some backup here because of fair housing. And the buyer toolkit one more time. All right, that's the buyer section. We're going to move on to sellers. I'm not seeing any other questions. Now that we've seen some of the things, we'll be moving a little bit faster through this website. So please explore, go through this on your own as well. There's so much for consumers here. Our seller toolkit, just like the buyer toolkit, except for sellers. Wonderful naming conventions we have. So as you will see, they go through. It is a little bit shorter than the buyer toolkit, but every seller is almost always also a buyer. So they're both very helpful. Is selling right for you? Steps to selling, using a realtor, listing and pricing your home, housing opportunity, all of that, and of course, more checklists that just give everyone that overview. They feel like they can go through it at their own pace. They feel like they can read ahead, reread where they are, get a better understanding of all of this, agency being broken down again for them, and listing and pricing your home for sale, which we know is huge because there's always an emotional part for the seller because they love their home. Yeah, they're moving, but like they've lived there for X years. They've done X amount of dollars in renovations or put X amount of dollars into the house trying to improve it and maintain it and repair it. They have memories in that house. They're going to struggle to figure out what that price is. And you as an expert are going to be a huge factor in this. But this gives them an overview in how you may be pointing out different things and an understanding of why the number that they were originally thinking may not be the number that reflects the current market conditions and all of these other things. As again, we note, be sure to discuss the following with your realtor because we highly, highly recommend working with a professional who's going to be able to help you throughout this entire process. Home sale checklist, home sale, pre-sale home inspection, clean up your space, getting estimates, warranties, all of that. And of course, amping up that curb appeal, enriching with color, and all of that. So we got the photo shoot, we got the home showing checklist. I've been talking for a minute. I need some water. I am sorry. And that is the majority of the toolkit. There is more. Again, this is an incredible wealth of information. And these are popular with the consumers, I must say. One moment. I'm sorry. My throat is dry. Anyway, we also have linked the wholesaling information again, and we have some more of this information, just pulling it out of those toolkits so it's easier to find. If someone doesn't want to download something, they can find it right here, and it helps improve our SEO, which I realized I said that earlier and I didn't explain it. Search engine optimization, so that we tell Google or Bing or whatever search service you are using, hey, we have this information here. If they're searching for how to buy a home, we have enough of the terms here on this website to increase how many people get Maryland homeownership in their results and getting that as high on the page as possible, because we all know it's very rare when you go past that first page of whatever search engine you're using. So the steps to selling again, and seller highlights as well. So preparing your home to sell brings you down. It's the same page. It's just an anchor of telling you the seller checklist and preparing to sell and all of that good stuff. Working with a realtor is very much the same page because there are very much the same benefits for a buyer and a seller. Being in the transaction means that you are able to do a lot and you are able to have that expert and all of that. I don't need to keep explaining to you why it's good to work with a realtor because you all know that. But we make sure we make that case throughout this website, that we make sure that every buyer and seller that comes to this website is aware that working with a realtor is in their best interest. It's a big purchase. I wish I could have a realtor when I have to buy a car, but for cars. I hope someone else feels the same way because I do. All right, home selling process, as I just said, and then I got distracted. Also an anchor, it takes them down to these 6 very simplified steps of how to sell your home, but it gives them an understanding and in a way that is not overwhelming. They can understand, prepare your home. It's a lot of things. No one thinks that's going to take a day. I'm pretty sure no one thinks. Maybe you've had a client that thought it would take a day to prepare their home and it didn't. Most people understand that it's going to take a while or it's going to take some steps. But it gets them in the door and gives them that understanding that is really important to help them feel like they can make that first step and talk to a realtor. Fair housing, again, it is the same page, but it is really important because buyers and sellers both need fair housing and they need to be aware of different things. And like how they go through that transaction is going to be different depending on what they're doing, but it's the same protections that they're working with. Homeowners, because Maryland homeownership, the goal is being a homeowner. You need resources on how to own your home. We are planning on fleshing this out a little bit more in the next few months. But right now we have different things, including some homeowner articles, but we have homeowner assistance, home repair programs, and tax programs for homeowners. So mortgage assistance programs. Foreclosure prevention, a whole bunch of links for county and DHCD, which is the Department of Housing and Community Development. We have energy assistance programs because we all know, especially this year, those utility bills are causing a strain on a lot of households. So all of this information, again, to connect them because we don't need to recreate these wheels. We just need to get them the resources in their hands because we are not a foreclosure prevention website, but we can give you the information if that's what you need. Home repair loans and grants. So home renovation assistance. So you need a really big renovation. You can't afford it. Places that might be able to help you out by county again, because so many of these programs happen on that local level. And then tax credit programs for homeowners. I know when I bought my house that they told me before I even left the settlement table about the homestead tax credit, but I was told so many things at that table. It's always good to have a reminder. So we make sure that we have this page dedicated to making sure people know about these different tax credits at the state level, for ways that they are able to try to save some money come tax season. Renters and landlords, Just a note also, so we already have some edits planned for this website over the next few months. We're really excited about a lot of them. Those one pagers being translated is one of those edits that we have coming up. But we're also going to be moving landlords underneath homeowners because what are landlords? They're the owners. So we're going to put some of those landlords' information underneath homeowners, and we're going to make some more curated content just for those landlords on one page. But right now we have it lumped together with renter. So again, we have article highlights, we have rental assistance information, eviction prevention, and the new rental rights and laws. Some of you may have been on the webinar last week with the Office of Tenant and Landlord Affairs, where they talked about the Tenant Bill of Rights. So that information will be linked on that page as well. Rental assistance, again, by county, when it wants to load. The Maryland Renters' Rights and Stabilization Act, which is in effect. So we have the Office of Tenant and Landlord Affairs, Bill of Rights, security deposits, eviction fees, the highlights that they need to know if they're like, what rights do I have in Maryland as a renter? And eviction prevention. So more information about the Office of Tenant and Landlord Affairs, and all of these other good things, as well as information about the actual eviction process and what help they may be able to get. Because eviction is never what people want when they sign up to rent or when they sign up to rent out their home or their property. It's always the worst case scenario. Articles, wouldn't you believe? We have articles on the articles page. This is all of them. You can search them by category. So say I just really want information about financing, do that and it will load and it will give you the latest by that. You can also search by key term if you would like. And if you scroll all the way down past those, say you didn't find what you were looking for, you can suggest. Like you can put in your question and be like, I really am confused about this thing. And then we will be able to get that information and hopefully write content. Get the resources, get the information, put it together in an easy to read and understand way. Um, these articles we try really hard to make sure are very easy to understand. And actually, I'll just show you one because that feels simpler. Easy to understand. We use headers so that you can easily, if you're just skimming, you can look at, oh, do I have to get an appraisal? That's the question I have. I'm going to go and read that one now. And it's also better for both ADA and it's also better for SEO to have those headings as a fun tip. But we make sure that these are easy to understand. We explain everything and make sure that someone who comes in with no understanding of real estate at all isn't overwhelmed with different key terms and jargon and acronyms because we know we have a million acronyms in this field and makes it easier for them. Resources, our longest tab. We have a bunch of resources. That is the name of the game. We have an about page as well to just, if someone's curious about us, about MarylandHomeownership.com, we have some information about our mission statement, which is really just to educate consumers about homeownership and make sure that we're opening as many doors as possible. We have our buyer toolkit and our seller toolkit. I'm not going to go there because we've already seen those beautiful things. Key terms in real estate. So we start with designations and certifications because so many of you have so many wonderful certifications that help make you experts and specialists that members don't necessarily know about. So we have information about the Housing Opportunity Certification, which again, we'll get to in a moment. We're almost there. And we have all of the information about the national designations and certifications. And if they scroll down underneath that, the real estate terms and definitions, buying and selling terms, default foreclosure terms, insurance terms. We've tried to explain these as simply as possible. Again, we want people with no understanding to be able to come in and be like, what is a fixed rate mortgage? What does that mean? What is escrow? So some of these categories are way bigger than the others, as you could see. They're all categorized by they're all alphabetized. if I can get the words to come out of my mouth. This is so that if they feel overwhelmed and they feel like they just really don't know what they're even reading or what they're hearing, that someone's like, "Oh, someone told me points are good." But what is that? They can come and they can find the information that they need as easily as possible. Again, name of the game, easy as possible. The housing stats underneath resources, come to our housing stats page. You get these every month. But this gives them a very clear understanding of, all right, inventory is going up, buyer's market. You can help them interpret this information because you are the experts. You know that units pending going down and inventory going up means the market is starting to shift. And you can tell your buyer clients, like, hey, here's the data from a credible resource. This is what it means for you in your search. And if you're trying to wait until it's more of a buyer's market because you're a first-time home buyer and you're not worried about selling anything, now's a good time to start looking, or now is it a good time to do these things. And so we give them access to the data just like you, but you're the experts who can help them interpret it. And if you're the one showing them hard data, you're that much more of an expert too. I already clicked on that one. That's why that happened. Home inspections. So many questions about home inspections. And especially late in the past 5 years or so, so many people foregoing them because of the crazy seller's market that it was. But it's pretty important and a really good idea to keep yourself safe and your investment safe by doing a home inspection. So we made sure to put this together of a checklist, an expectation of what does a home inspection look for? What does it not look for? Like what's beyond the scope of a home inspection? Um, plumbing, roof, everything. So they can look at this and they could even go through it and check it off with the home inspector and make sure that everything here has actually been addressed. We also have information about other property inspections because we know radon and pest and mold and lead-based paint and other things and septic are going to vary based on what property you're doing, and where you are, all of that. Webinars and events. We have a free monthly webinar. I host it every month where we have members from our Maryland Homeownership Advisory Committee come and present as a realtor member. The Department of Housing and Community Development, Maryland Mortgage Program chooses a top lender that works with them to come and do a lender presentation. And then we also have Freddie Mac and Maryland Mortgage Program come and talk about their programs. It is a 1 hour webinar with those 4 presentations. It is stuffed with information. We go over almost every month. And they're able to ask, the consumers who sign up for it are able to ask questions about whatever they need. Like please explain more about credit scores. What happens if the seller backs out? What happens if like, can I offer less than asking price? What do interest rates mean for me? Am I watching the Fed? Do I need to be watching the Fed rate drop? What does that do for mortgage rates? All of those questions they are able to ask and have those 4 experts in the room with them, the virtual room with them, to give answers. It's every month. It is fully free. It's on Thursday afternoons or evenings. And it's just a place that they can get the presentation and ask the questions, which is part of the huge benefit of this as well. We also, when we have them, highlight local events that are coming up or statewide events that are coming up as well. And our videos. This is another effort we'll be expanding again, part of our edits that are going to be big in the next few months. We are trying to make sure we have plenty of video content because are people reading today? Not as much as they're watching. So creating this content that will be easy to understand, but also viewable, where you can hit play and sit back and you'll be told the information, is a way that we are trying to connect with more consumers. So say you have a client who has questions about compensation and they don't really understand it, you could send them the series that we have with our friend Mimi G, who has been kind of the face of Maryland homeownership for the past, 2 years almost, and Chuck talking about compensation and explaining how it works and the different things. So we have how do realtors get paid? How do you negotiate compensation? What is cooperative compensation and what are seller concessions? We also have steps to buying and steps to selling your home. And we have an animated video that also goes over that pathway to home ownership, how you buy a home. And we have a couple other videos. So we have the Superfund disclosure that went into effect last year in October, where if a seller is within that 1 mile radius of a Superfund site, they now need to do that new disclosure. There's a how-to video for them so that they can quickly look up, like, how do they find out if they're within a mile of a Superfund site? We have a high school to home ownership where people in their 20s, when they were able to buy their home, talk about how they were able to make that happen. And we have Unboxing Maryland Home Ownership, which is kind of a very short version of what this webinar kind of is, going over all of the wonderful things that we have. So with that, that is all of Maryland Home Ownership as it stands. Again, we have some very exciting edits coming up, including more translated content, including we're going to be translating these videos, which we're super excited about, and fleshing out some financial readiness content, a little bit more catered things for landlords, and a few other things that we're very, very, very excited about. I'm not seeing any more questions currently about Maryland Home Ownership, how to navigate it, how to use it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about HOC. So HOC, as I get all of my screens prepared, here's the information that you need on the screen, but I'll go over it as well. So HOC is a training that will cover information that you will need to help first-time home buyers, workforce, and affordable housing finance programs help you understand how they work and how to get your clients who are eligible for them to be able to use them so that you can be fully knowledgeable about the ways that you can help your buyer get in that door. We are offering it online. Maryland Realtors it's actually, sorry, hybrid. So if you would like to come to our offices in Annapolis and do it in person, you are welcome to. If you want to do it online from the comfort of your own home, power to you, do it. It is $25 to register, whether you're doing one class or all four. It is from 9 to 4:30 p.m. on December 2nd. Tuesday, December 2nd. You can mark your calendars. Registration is open now. You can scan that QR code or go on our website, mdrealtor.org/HOC. That'll take you to the page with all the information about HOC, and you'll see a nice red button that says register for December HOC. That will take you to the registration page. If you get your HOC certification, that is how you get on MarylandHomeownership.com. That is how you get on that list of realtors that we have available on that website. It renews every 2 years, but the renewal requirements you can see on MarylandRealtors.com or MarylandRealtor.org/HOC. You can look up the information about how you renew it. There are no fees to renew. The only thing you may have to pay is the cost of whatever classes you need to take to actually renew. And I believe it is 2 classes every 2 years to renew. We want this essential information to be in as many hands of members as possible. It is an outstanding program. You learn about state and local programs. You learn about federal and national programs. You learn more about credit scores. It is wonderful, and it's 1 day and $25, and then you get put on our consumer site, and you have a wealth of information to bring to all of your other clients. Are there any? I'm not seeing any questions about HOC, so I was going to move along. But if you have a question, please feel free because I can circle back. All right. Now we're going to talk about co-branding because if you noticed, on our toolkits, we actually left you a space on our covers to add your logo and your information onto it. So we're going to start with Canva. And if we have time, we're going to go to Adobe Acrobat and we're going to go through how you can add a logo to those toolkits online. So, of course, you can take the toolkit and you can take a sticker and put it on the toolkit if you would like. You can also add it digitally so that if you're sharing these toolkits with your clients online, your information is still going to be there. For those of you who don't know, also, those toolkits The buyer and the seller, both in English and Spanish, are available for free at our offices. We also bring them to a bunch of our events. If you see us at a trade show, we almost certainly have some if we haven't run out yet. Um, and if you need a big amount, you are welcome to come to our offices in Annapolis or contact your local board to see if they have any in stock with them. And you can take them for free to use with your clients. We want this information to be used. We want our consumers, your clients, to be educated and to understand your worth, what you bring to the table, and understand what they're getting into and what's ahead of them. We want you to use them. So we have them for free and we have this. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to go to create. If you use Canva, I have Canva Pro through Maryland Realtors because I'm a staff member. So it may look a little bit different if you're in the free version, but you should be able to do all of these steps as far as I'm aware. When you hit create a design, we're going to go to upload down here at the bottom, upload files. It's bringing up my downloads automatically. We'll do the buyer toolkit. I've already downloaded it from our website from Maryland Homeownership or Maryland Realtors. So you will need to download that. We are uploading it. It may take a moment, but I wanted to go through all of the steps with you. It's chugging along. It's got a lot of stuff. There we go. We open that up and we see our wonderful toolkit. Awesome. Great. This white space down here, we left for you. Use it if you want to. So, how do we get our logo there? We again are going to go to uploads. We're going to upload files. You're going to choose your logo. I have a demo image for you. It'll populate here on the left-hand side with any other images you used. You click it once, it'll show up. Drag it on down. It's a little bit too big, so we're going to squeeze it so that it fits. If you see the red border, you don't want to put anything that's going to be printed in that red that pops up on the edges of the screen. You want to space it nicely so it looks intentional. And then boom, you have it there. We'll exit out of this ad to print with Canva. And we will hit share, download, and you decide what kind of file you want. Generally, you're probably going to be good with just doing PDF standard. You're welcome to do PDF print if you're going to get them professionally printed or anything like that, but standard should do it. You're going to want all of the pages, but for some reason, say you only wanted to send someone one page, you can do that. You can unselect and select whatever you want, but we're going to leave all of them and we're going to hit download. And it's going to go ahead and give us this file. And now we will have this file with our logo on it. And I'll just show you. So now in the PDF, your logo, your name, your contact info is right there at the very first page. I'm not seeing any questions about how to do that in Canva or if I went too fast. Yes, you will get emailed a recording of this webinar. So that if you want to relive your hour with me on this wonderful Thursday afternoon, you are welcome to. Yes, everyone will get a copy of this webinar after the fact. All right, no questions coming in about Canva. I'm going to move ahead. If we need to come back, we can come back. All right. So let's say we're going to come back to downloads. Say you don't have Canva. That's fine. You don't need Canva for this. Any photo editor software will work. So like if you have Photoshop, it's probably going to be more than you need. Like Photoshop is probably more powerful a software than you need to do this, but you could do it. So if you wanted to do that, if that was the easiest thing for you, go ahead. But you can also do Adobe Acrobat. So I'm just going to go to my downloads. I'm going to open, actually, I'm not going to open that one. That one already has our logo. I'm going to open our seller toolkit for this one. If it lets me. Or our buyer toolkit. That's fine too. There we go. My computer has decided it is almost the end of the webinar and that it would like to be done early. There we go. All right, we're getting our buyer toolkit, and that'll be fine. Good news, same steps for the seller toolkit. So we see it, still blank. We need to go to edit. Note, before I get too much further, you do need Adobe Acrobat. As far as I'm aware, I don't know if you're going to be able to do this if you only have Adobe Reader. So if you don't have that, Adobe may not be the best place for you to do this, and that is okay. There are other Canva, I'm pretty sure you can do this with a free account and all of that without getting into too much trouble and craziness. So, all right, we went to edit at the top. We're going to edit on the left-hand side underneath add content. We're going to choose an image because we already have that wonderful logo. It'll bring us here. We're going to go back to our downloads. Excuse how big my menu is over here. There we go. We're going to select our logo. You'll go to whatever folder it's in for you. It's opening as a PDF. It shows up right there. We drag and we drop. It gives us nice grid lines so we can try to make sure that it's spaced nicely. You put it down. Essential step. You got to hit save. I have exited out of too many PDFs without hitting save because I was like, and it's there. It's good. I'm done. So you hit save and then you're done. The file is the same. So with Canva, we had to upload the file and we were able to download it again, which created a new file. With Adobe, you can just add it to the original file, so the name of everything is the same. And that's it. Are there any questions about how to add your logo, how to co-brand any of that? All right. Well, that is all the information we have for you today. If you have any questions about MarylandHomeownership.com, please feel free to get in touch. You can contact me personally at Jackie Muick at mdrealtor.org, or you can get in contact with us at webinar@mdrealtor.org is the other email if you would like to do that. We are so excited for you to use this website with your clients. It is a wonderful way to have them educated and get them involved in the process so that they understand not just where they are, but where they're going to be going. And it makes it smoother for both of you. So, thank you so much and have a great rest of your Thursday.